I've been tracking this since I was a kid, since I was 17. 1964, President Johnson took the dollar, or put the silver dollar and made it fake silver dollars and dimes and quarters. So that's why the American coins have the copper tinge around it. It's called, fake money. But what's happening is that so the BRICS nation are coming, Russia, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now Saudi Arabia coming after us. What's happening is that in 2017, the BIS, Bank of International Settlements, made gold tier one asset. See, up until then, the U.S. Treasury was tier one assets. So the whole world is filled with U.S. treasuries and bonds. And as you and I have talked over the years, I don't like treasuries and bonds, and because they're fake. So what's going to happen is when they keep raising interest rates, those treasuries they're becoming worthless. Let's say you have a treasury at 5% or a bond at 5%, and the interest rates go to 10%. It's going to collapse the system. So like Japan, which has had quantitative easing for years and years and years and years now, is filled with U.S. treasuries. So is China. So is the Fed. And so it just started to happen, a few months, 2017 again. There was a reverse repo. And a reverse repo was what happened just before 2008 in America. And a reverse repo is very simply this, is what happens is the Fed will give money to, let's say, a tier one bank, like let's say Bank of America. A reverse repo is this. So if a Fed gives money to Bank of America, that's called a repo. So they're backing up Bank of America. A reverse repo is Bank of America and all the tier one banks give it back to the Fed. They don't want the money. They don't want the bond. And it's not they don't want the bond. When they give the money, when the bank, let's say Bank of America, gives the money back to the Fed, that's saying we don't want to lend money anymore because it's an indictment. Andy Schectman says this. He says it's an indictment of the U.S. economy. We're going down. Now, if that goes down, they keep raising interest rates, all those bonds will crash because, who wants a 5% bond when you can get a 10% bond? And the rumor is, this is according to Andy Schectman, a long shot is this: Japan may join the BRICS, Brazil, India. And what will happen is then instead of a bailout, bailouts what happened with Lehman Brothers in 2008. And so the taxpayer gave money to Lehman Brothers. What will happen is this: there'll be a bail-in, which happened in Cyprus in 2008, is Bank of America, when they give all those treasuries back or the bonds back to the Fed, people will run on Bank of America, and Bank of America will say, so you and I go to the bank and say, we want our money back. We want our savings back. And Bank of America says, our door is shut because there's a run on the bank. But guess what? Instead of your cash or your savings, we'll give you back stock in Bank of America. That's a bail-in. Now, I hope it doesn't happen, but that's what I was writing about. So as you know, I'm a huge gold, silver nut. And I would rather have silver right now, which is the biggest bargain in world history today. It's the real estate was my generation's investment because it was debt. For your generation, it's silver, because it's right today in America, it's cost me $30 to buy a silver eagle. $30. This stuff is trash. This is trash here. Cash is trash. So that's a bail-in, bail-out. That's what happens. You have a repo and a reverse repo. So the reverse repo is the banks are giving back the money to the Fed. We don't want it. I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, the Fed, this guy Powell just announced yesterday, he's going to raise interest rates again. So what that's going to do is going to, Andy Schectman says this is called the 3 times crash. All paper assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs crash. Real estate's going to crash. And this is going to crash, the US dollar. So far, David, all the years you've interviewed me, I'm a freaking gold and silver bug, as you know, and not ETFs. I am hard assets. Anyway, as soon as Biden cut off the keystone, oil went from 30 to 130 a barrel. Immediately, I knew what he was doing. They're crushing the poor and middle class. So this is the irony of it, David. Guys like me get richer. So, you sell oil from $30, also getting 130. I almost voted for Biden after that one. I said, thank you, Joe. But then I realized what he's doing. He's going to crush the poor and middle class. And that sets us up for revolution, David. Well, first, Biden cut off Afghanistan. He left American troops behind. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I flew in Vietnam twice. When he cut off, the second move he did was he took us out of Afghanistan. He left troops behind. That's criminal. What he did, I mean, every veteran should be up in arms against. I'm a United Asian, but I fought for America. My uncles fought for our America. When he took us off Afghanistan, I went, holy mackerel. And that day, Saudi Arabia negotiated with Russia. Okay, so that started to happen. So he was cutting first oil, and then Saudi Arabia betrayed. So when Biden went to Saudi Arabia, they laughed at him, because here's this guy purporting Green New Deal, Biden, and why would the Saudis like him? And so when Xi, Premier Xi from China was there, they gave Xi, the welcome like he was Saddam Hussein coming back again, or Karl Marx coming back again. I mean, the Saudis love China because Saudi Arabia, just a couple of weeks ago, Saudi Arabia agreed that they would pay China in renminbi, not the dollar. Because, the dollar, as most people know, was 1974. When Nixon came to office, he took the dollar off the gold standard in 71. And he sent Kissinger to Saudi Arabia, and the US dollar in 74 became the petrodollar. So in 74, the dollar was no longer backed by gold, it was backed by oil. They're going to send all those dollars back to America. You see, as long as in 71, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, 74, Kissinger put the dollar back by oil. So all of these guys hold dollars because oil-backed dollar was valuable. So now it's no longer gold, no longer is oil. What is a dollar? This is trash. And you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it says cash is trash, savers are losers. I could see all this coming. So what's happened this year, David? This year, as we talk, those dollars are trash. And people are saying, oh, go to school, save money. You got to be nuts. You got to be really ignorant not to do. I just say buy a silver eagle, US eagle, or Canadians. Canadians have great silver coins. Buy silver because it's only about $30 an ounce right now. It's cheap because we, as interest rates kept going down, we kept borrowing out the equity, which was, so now we could be in trouble also. But the good thing is our income far exceeds our liability, so we can still afford to refinance, get new loans. But if, as Andy Schectman says, that the repo markets went to reverse repo, in other words, they won't give out loans anymore. There'll be runs on the bank. There'll be bail-ins, not bailouts, and the whole economy crashes. If and only if they don't, if the bonds that all the banks are holding go upside down. And so that's what happens when Powell raised interest rates. Those bonds are holding got toasted. That's my concern, David. It's just basic finance. If you have a bond at 5%, but suddenly bonds are now 10%. Your 5% bonds are not worth anything.